Right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the California State Railroad Museum with the Ports Home Learning Program. My name is Lauren, and today I'm excited for doing Career Day Round 2. Maybe you tuned in a couple weeks ago. We did a Career Day Part 1, where we interviewed the museum director, interpreter 2, guide 1, and museum curator about some of their projects and what they do in their positions. And Career Day Part 2 today, we're going to look at some student and seasonal positions. So this program is great for people who are maybe interested in starting a career with state parks. We are going to hear from our state park peace officer K9, our senior maintenance aide, our restoration work specialist, our student intern turned Parkade, a bonus Parkade, we get 2 Parkades, and our visitor services lead, who is our guide II Supervisor. So as we go today, some of these people, the first 3 don't work specifically in the museum, but they work in Old Sacramento State Historic Park or some of the other state parks around our district. And then the last 3 people that you'll meet do work in the California State Railroad Museum with myself. So we're going to start by taking a loop around part of the park in Old Sacramento. I'm going to keep my mask on since I'm going and talking to multiple people, making sure that I keep my distance. Yes, thank you very much. And we are off for a little walk through Old Sacramento State Historic Park. Now go ahead and please put your hand up if you have been to Old Sacramento before. All right, I see 5, 6 people, 8 people, 9 people. I'm guessing some of these people may be our museum staff and docents tuning in today. Hi, everybody. So our first guest presenter, here we are. We are going to hear from Officer Pascarella, who is a State Park Peace Officer K9, and his partner Hugo. So, hi there.
Hi, everybody.
Could you tell us a little bit about your position and where you work?
Absolutely. So, my name is Officer Pascarella, and this is my K9 partner Hugo. We work here at Capital District in Sacramento, which Capital District is a bunch of different park units throughout Sacramento and West Sacramento, such as museums, state parks, and historic parks, such as this one.
And can you tell us a little bit about Hugo?
Yeah, so this is my K9 partner, Hugo. He's a sable-colored German Shepherd. He will be 2 in July. He's cross-trained, so he's dual-trained in patrol and detection. Whereas patrol, he helps out with apprehension, officer protection, and tracking suspects and tracking missing and lost people as well. And he's cross-trained in explosive detection, where he we do various dignitary sweeps, different sweeps for special events where we do explosive detection.
And what kind of training did you have to go through to work with a K9? And how often do you 2 practice training together?
Yeah, so I had to go through about 30 to 35 week academy process. And then later on in my career, I became a K9 team for California State Parks. And I got Hugo here, and we went through a month-long academy in order to train together and become a team.
Thanks. And I guess you kind of answered it a little bit there, but the process and what you have to do to join the Cadet Academy.
Yeah, so the process to become a state park peace officer is, first you need to apply. Second, you need to pass a physical agility exam and a written exam. From there, you move on to background investigations. And then from there, you move on to the medical and psych exams. And then finally, you get to go to the academy, which is about 30 to 35 weeks academy in youth college. And then from there, it's not over. Then after you get out of the academy, you go through extensive FTO program, which is the field training program, where you're out in the field performing the tasks of a state park peace officer.
And what would a typical day at work be around Old Sacramento? What are some of your responsibilities?
So here in Sacramento, we're pretty diverse. And the best part about my job is the variety. So we travel from various park units throughout Sacramento and West Sac in order to not only be visible, but also enforce rules and regulations of the park. Take various reports of crimes that occurred, such as vandalism or damage to the resources or the natural and cultural resources. From there, we answer any calls for service, whether they're crimes in progress or medicals where people need help. And we go out through the day and make sure everybody's safe in our parks.
And last question, thank you so much. Do you have any advice for young people who are considering a career in law enforcement or public safety?
Yeah, so my advice is to get out there and to do ride-alongs with various agencies. You're always welcome to do a ride-along with state parks. You just email recruiting@stateparks.ca.gov, and they'll get you set up with an officer that is in your area. Ride-alongs, you can always visit our website at californiastateparks.ca.gov. There's a recruitment page on there with various videos, tons of information for people that want to get involved in a career like this.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Officer Pascarella and Hugo. We're going to continue on our way and let you guys get back to work. Thanks for joining us.
Take care.
Bye. All right, everybody, as we're walking across the grass, raise your hand if you have a pet dog at home. Who has dogs out there? Yeah, I see 10 of us. I have a very lazy poodle. It's fun to see Hugo out here. I see him in the truck a lot, but it's also always fun to see him walking around. And we are making our way through a pretty quiet day here in Old Sacramento. And hi there. Hello. We are at our next presenter. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us what your position is?
So my name is Angel, and I am a senior maintenance aide here at the California State Railroad Museum in Old Sacramento.
Hello. Could you tell us a little bit about the position of maintenance aide and senior maintenance aide?
Sure. Yeah. So as part of a maintenance aide, you are working with a team of about 5 to 7 people, and we are in charge of maintaining the facility. We are general housekeeping. We're doing painting. We're doing groundskeeping. We are pretty much in the museum. When we're open, we are sanitizing all the public spaces. We are cleaning glass. We are polishing brass. We are polishing, vacuuming the floors. Let's see. Sorry.
No, great. You guys are busy.
We are. Well, right now, so the museum is closed, and that's why we decided to come out here to this beautiful space. I'm in the 1849 scene. So also being here in Old Sacramento, we are also maintaining the grounds here. We have the ranger station right behind me, and we have our ticket station where you would catch the excursion trains and the Polar Express. And we also maintain the waterfront down adjacent to the bike trail that way. So let's see what else.
Well, with all of those duties and various things that you do, what are some like key skills or attributes that someone needs to be successful with the maintenance position?
Okay, so I would say number one would be a team player. And a lot of times that's kind of like an interview question. You know, they want to know if you're a team player, and people will say, yes, I am. But in this case, you really do truly need to be a team player. We're working together. We are gathering multiple times throughout the day. We're separating out in pairs, in groups, and sometimes you do work by yourself, but we are a team, and it is our job to maintain this beautiful space. There's a lot to do, and we all have our positions, and we all have our skill sets. And not only are we're co-workers, we're working together as a team, we're also teaching each other skills throughout the day. Because there's some things I don't know, and maybe, Nick knows. So we're also learning as well.
And Angel, do you have an example of a project that your team has worked on together?
Yes, actually. So these picnic benches, we have about a dozen of these throughout the 1849 scene here. And with the museum being closed, we're able to tackle some, give some attention to things that we normally wouldn't have time to do. So these picnic benches, they were in pretty rough shape. They're out here in the elements. We gave them a nice little facelift. We refinished them and we painted them. And I think they're beautiful. I'm really happy with the way they came out. They're out here and the public are using them daily. So this is something that we worked on recently.
I certainly use them on my lunch break.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
Beautiful spot to sit. And I see you have the gator here. Do all of you drive the gator?
We do, yes. So this gator, we're using it every day. Like I said, we not only are we in the museum, we are outdoors. We have our admin office, the ranger station. We're going down to the beach. It's a fun little thing to ride on. Yes.
Can we take it for a spin?
We can, yes.
All right.
And also as a maintenance aide, you are operating state vehicles. So that's light duty and heavy duty trucks. And we are responsible for maintaining those. We're fueling them. We are washing them, detailing them as needed. When we go off site, we're using these daily. So part of the requirements as a maintenance aide is you would have to have a Class C driver's license. So that is something to keep in mind when you are applying for the position.
Nice. All right. A little scenic loop around Old Sac. And Angel, while we're going here, what do you enjoy about your job?
Oh goodness. You know what? There's so many things I enjoy about my job. One of them is because I'm a people person. I enjoy just chatting with strangers from all walks of life. And Old Sacramento is a pretty popular, it's a tourist destination for Sacramento. So being a people person is key. And I love that I'm just out here in the outdoor space, being in nature, little flexibility. And of course, working at the museum, we have a lot of great people, all the different departments we're working with. There's always something I'm learning new. So I'm hoping to use those skills for future jobs. There are some exams that you can take. And like I said, we are working with the team here. As a maintenance aide, we are helping the groundskeeper and the worker ones. So that's all just kind of building up our skills and getting ready for those exams when we are ready.
Thank you so much for joining today and interviewing and taking me to our next spot. Thank you, Angel. I appreciate it. All right. Hi there. All right. Could you please introduce yourself and say what your position is with state parks?
My name is Tim White, and I'm a restoration work specialist for the Capital District.
And so for the Capital District, you work in Old Sacramento, but also for other state parks around
I
us.
do a lot of work on the Sanford Mansion and Centers Fort, as well as Old Sacramento.
And what was your education or background that led you into restoration work?
Well, it didn't really lead me to restoration work. I have a bachelor's of fine arts degree from UC Davis, and I've always had an interest in history and the building trades. Through various different early career paths, I ended up as a general contractor specializing in older structures and did some work on some historic structures. Eventually, ended up at state parks, which is where I wish I would have started much sooner.
So what are some examples of different projects that you've worked on?
There is a number of projects. One of my favorites recently is a couple of years ago, I was able to hand carve the finials for the 4 newel posts at the Sanford Mansion. It's very satisfying work. Since we're out here, I can describe some projects that are happening with these buildings.
Yeah, let me zoom out a little bit. Show where we are.
They need a lot of paint work. There are three buildings here, and the one right in front of us, we painted last year. And on top of just doing the work, we're able to do the research as to how the buildings were constructed, when they were constructed, what materials they use. These 2 buildings here in the center are actually reconstructions. And so we're able to research the different colors that they would have used and try to make things a little more accurate than what they used when they did the reconstruction. On top of just doing the maintenance that it needs. So we painted that one last summer. We're going to work on this one this summer. And the building right there is the only old structure here. And it dates back to the 1850s. So it has a whole bunch of different guidelines that we need to follow in order to do accurate work on that structure to ensure that proper restoration, preservation, and rehabilitation takes place.
So Tim, what would the difference be then between maintenance work and restoration work?
a lot of it is maintenance has been happening since these buildings were created. And the maintenance work that a restoration person does is understanding the history of the work that's been done, why it was done that way, decisions about materials, the use of tools, and to try to recreate that as much as possible so you retain as much of the historic integrity of the structure as possible. So for example, the oldest building there, we had rounded windows and they had been repaired poorly, but they were actually windows dating back to the 1980s. So we were able to recreate them in a period accurate way without disturbing the original structure, but to actually enhance it and make it better.
Gotcha. Thanks. And Tim, I remember you said that there's not a lot of your positions through the state and state parks, that it's a pretty selective group, and that it's only, you can only do this kind of work in historic parks. So do you have any advice for people that are interested in this restoration work in this field of getting some experience or training?
I would say that state parks is a great way to go. There aren't a whole lot of classes offered in restoration preservation, but because the infrastructure is built in with state parks, if you get into state parks, regardless of your skill level and knowledge level, you work around a lot of people and a lot of resources that are able to add upon that and end up in a restoration world. There are classes taught through maintenance where we teach the trades as well as historic preservation and restoration work, and that's a great way to build yourself up to a position where you can do this fun work.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Anything else before we mosey on our way and head inside?
Thanks for spending the time, and go state parks.
All right. Thanks, Tim.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
All right, everybody, in we go inside the museum. And like I said, the three people that we just heard from, they don't specifically work just in the Railroad Museum, but our next three presenters do. And unlike Tim, who has a position where there's not a lot of them in state parks, our next two presenters, you can do this job in the Redwoods. You can do this job up at Lake Tahoe, up at a historic park. I will let her tell you herself what her position is. But we're meeting the visitor services team, and that is a great way to begin a job with state parks. Hi, Audrey. Oh, good. It was so bright out there. Now it feels like I'm in a haunted house here. Yeah. So could you please introduce yourself and tell us what your position is with state parks?
Yeah. So I'm Audrey Laptep, and I am a park aide. I have worked as a park aide for a while now, so yeah, that's what I do.
So I know before you were a park aide, you had a different title. What were you working on before you became a park aide?
Right. So I was hired as a park aide in 2018, but then I worked here for a while the museum was open, but because of school and things, I took a little break. But then last fall, I was given the opportunity to work as a student intern with the exhibits team, which is really, really, really cool. And that's what I did last fall. And now I'm a park aide again. So
cool, full circle.
Where I love to be, exactly.
Well, Audrey, can you show us what you worked on for your internship? What kind of projects did you work on?
Yeah, so we were working on educational programs because we are working on so many things that are digital. And I was working on the Horses to Horsepower digital activities side of things for our dynamic website. So I was making mostly Spark slideshows that will become web pages that students can go to after they've been taught the material to kind of further their learning in that. So I got to do. So I will, if you don't mind,
yeah,
I'll share my screen
absolutely.
with you and I'll show you what I worked on for a little while. So here we go.
One moment here, we're getting up the web page.
Oh yeah.
And so you said Spark. Was this a program that you already knew how to use, or
So
did you
it
learn all of
wasn't
this?
actually. I don't think I'd ever actually even heard of it until we came on here. But I was able to learn how to do that, and it was a really awesome opportunity. And not only this, but I learned basic Photoshop and other programs like that, which I think are going to be really helpful later on. So our Horses to Horsepower program has 5 stations in the teacher's packet, and each station has an activity.
This is the first activity, and so it goes with Station 1, which is about the building of the Transcontinental Railroad. And I called it Achieving the Impossible. And so it loads up here, and this will eventually be a web page that teachers and students can go to and use in addition to their classroom learning.
So you are all getting the inside sneak peek, not yet available
Totally.
on the website.
Totally,
Coming
this is
soon.
a little preview. So it was survey activity, and so we cater mostly to around 4th grade classrooms. So that's sort of the level we work at. And so I just gave basic definitions they would need for the activity, and then we can use videos. And later on, we used a lot of historic photos to show how these tools and concepts were used throughout the construction of the railroad. We just give definitions that kids would need to understand what people did and why people did the things that they did. So we talk about Theodore Judah and what he did with the railroad. And then we move on to the more activity piece. So he mentions 4 different landforms. I'm just gonna walk you through really quick.
Yeah.
4 different landforms that he would look out for when they were surveying the railroad. And so we go over waterways, and then there's a photo of when they had to deal with that. And then we have ravines. And so each of these definitions are in the teacher's packets as well, but these are tailored down, so they're more easily accessed by the students on their own, even without the help of their teachers. So they can come on and do this on their own if they're interested in doing that. And so then after we use videos and historical photos to get our ideas across, we then move on to the actual activity portion, which is this instructional page. So here it asks them to draw a map, and it gives them like what they need to look out for, remembering what they've learned in the past few pages with an example, just in case they can't really visualize it. And then we also have a link out to an online drawing option in case kids don't have access to paper or if they just like doing it online. So that's pretty much what I was doing for all of the stations, and they're all different activities, and this is just one of them. So yeah.
Audrey, that is amazing. That takes our field trip program to the next level.
We're
The
so
learning
glad.
does not end after the 1-hour program. There's
Yeah.
so much the teachers can do. Let me bring the video
Oh, yeah,
back here.
totally.
And so if you completed this as a student intern and
Yeah.
you're back as a Parkade now, what's your next project?
Right. So a lot of that is just being uploaded onto the website. We're doing final edits on all of those because there are a few other interns as well who worked really, really hard on their end as well. So we have a lot to get up. But right now I'm also working on our podcast, which is called Roundhouse Crosstalk, and I'm co-producing that with another Parkade named Hannah. And it's been really, really cool so far. We have some really neat guests that we get to interview. And if you're interested at all in history, it doesn't even have to be railroad history, but if you're interested in history and the railroad is a plus, it's going to be a great resource for you guys, at least hopefully. So that's what we're working on right now.
And where do they go to hear the podcast?
podcast.
Sorry if you already said that.
Oh, no,
what
you're
apps can
totally
they
good.
pull that up on?
Anywhere that they get regular podcasts. So you can get on Spotify or on the Apple Podcast app, and it's called Roundhouse Crosstalk. By the
Right.
California State Railroad Museum. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Audrey. We're
Of
going to keep
course.
on going.
Thank you so much.
And good
Bye.
luck with your next podcast interviews.
Thank you.
Okay, we are making our way to the museum lobby. And that program that Audrey talked about, Horses to Horsepower, we are just starting our next, our spring program begins on Wednesday. So we'll have groups joining us through Zoom to do the program and then be able to link to all of those great resources that Audrey put together. And we have arrived at our next presenter. Hello there. Could you please, sorry, cut you off there. I was going to ask if you would please introduce yourself and tell us what your job is here.
Yeah, so my name's Brandy. I'm a Parkade here at the California State Railroad Museum. And yeah, I got hired May of 2020, so about 9 months ago.
So what are the typical duties of a Parkade when the museum is open?
Oh yeah, so when the museum is open, Parkade's duty is to make sure, like, we come in here in the morning, we make sure the place is organized, that everything's stocked and ready to go. And when we open, we sell admission to the guests that come in. We make sure they have everything they need, answer any questions they have, make sure they have everything they need to have a good time. So we want to make sure everyone who comes in here is happy, and we help with that. So.
If you were the one on the phone calling us now, I'm so sorry. We'll get back to you. But Brandy, since we have not been open and you haven't been able to do those typical duties, what have you been doing as a Parkade? What
Yes.
projects have you been involved in?
So I got hired just a couple months after we closed, so I haven't had too much experience with the museum being open, but I've gotten to help with a lot of really cool projects that I was really happy to be a part of. Some of the online digital programs, just small research projects here and there, just a lot of really cool stuff. But what I focus on is all aboard for story time. So every Monday at 11 on Facebook, Facebook Live, we either it's me or some of the other staff or the docents, whoever wants to read, we go on there, read a couple of stories. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. We usually have an activity, like a coloring page or something else for the kids to do. You know, just something for the kids to look forward to every Monday. I look forward to it. It's a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun doing that. Like I said, a lot of fun.
And is there any age limit on this all aboard for story time?
It's usually for the smaller kids, maybe like 4 or 5 year olds, but anybody can join. I like stories, you know, whoever wants to hop on, have someone read a story to them. It's a lot of fun for everyone.
Everybody loves having a story read to them. There we go.
You know, a lot of different things, whatever you like. We got all kinds of stories.
And Brandy, I know you're a student, so what are you hoping to do next in parks or career-wise? What is next for you?
Yeah, so I go to school for biology, focus on plants. So, you know, this job is really great for a student. You know, I think it's really good to manage, but I can see myself staying with state parks, maybe going in the interpretation route, or maybe a guide somewhere, maybe at one of the more outdoorsy parks, and doing some like animal interpretation or plants. I would really, really enjoy that. So I can see myself staying with parks and going down that route.
Nice. Thank you so much for joining us, Brandy. And maybe some folks on the Zoom will see you at Storytime next Monday.
Yeah, story time every Monday, all aboard for story time. See you there.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Bye,
you.
Brandy. Thank you.
Bye.
And we're not going far. We're just popping around the corner here to talk to our last presenter. Hi there. Could you please, hello, could you please introduce yourself and tell us what your position is here?
Sure. My name is Jason Rankins. I am the Guide II Supervisor at the California State Railroad Museum. That's my classification. My working title is Visitor Services Manager.
So we just talked with Parkade's Audrey and Brandy. Other than Parkade's, what positions do you supervise and provide support to?
I supervise the visitor services, basically the front end of the museum. So my role is to manage the parkades, the park interpretive specialists, and the guides that come through to the museum. These are all staff positions. Most of them are seasonal, but I also manage the guides, the guide ones who are tour guides like Debbie that you met at the last meeting. And I also manage our volunteers who are working inside the museum and giving tours and interacting with the public.
Let's see how many of them we have today. I haven't asked yet. Put your hand up if you are a docent or volunteer. Looks like we have I see 3 people, so awesome.
Oh, great.
So Jason, oh, nope, we're up to 5. Okay, they popped in there. So you mentioned seasonal jobs of the Parkade and Park Interpretive Specialist. How can the skills that people develop in these seasonal jobs help them in a career with state parks?
Okay, seasonal positions are like the gateway into either state service or California State Parks Service. They're a good way to learn other positions, kind of what we do, kind of like what this career day is all about. When that's pretty much what that is.
Yeah, I've learned a lot in a very short time here. It has been action-packed, learning new things every week. When you're looking to add someone to the team and hire someone for visitor services, what do you look for in an applicant?
Basically, I look for people who have some sort of the skills that I'm looking for. I often hire park interpretive specialists who specifically the skills I look for are people who are good with talking on camera nowadays with our distance learning. people who can put together programs and support them and just interact with people. I guess lately we're looking for more technical skills so people can use different programs and things like that, help organize our teams. The other thing I look for when we are open, we have about 10 Parkades who help run the day-to-day operations of the museum. So those types of skills are definitely customer service people skills, and also maybe a little bit of accounting skills where you can process transactions and do a little budgeting and things like that.
So if we were going to have some open positions here at the Railroad Museum in, say, a couple weeks, do you have any advice for people who are interested in applying?
Okay, that's a great question. When I look for applicants to apply for these open positions, basically I look at their application on a website called Cal Careers. If you go to calcareers.ca.gov, you can pull all the state positions. It will, each week they update it, almost every day they update it. There's a lot of different types of positions. If you do a advanced search, you can type in California State Parks, and then that will narrow your search down to state parks. And I work here in the Capital District, so you can even narrow it down to Sacramento to find those types of open jobs. Oftentimes I have the Parkade position available, and I have the Park Interpretive Specialist positions available. What I usually look for is a complete application. So if you fill out an application, just make sure you put in all the information, the contact information, your email is up to date and correct, and all of your work history is there as well. The other things I look for, I go through your previous position descriptions, and I'll read through that. If I feel that your skills are your skill set meets my needs, then we go through a round of interviews, and eventually we hire people on. So oftentimes when I have an open position, we get 100 to 150 applications. So it's always best to do what you can to stand out and shine.
Thank you so much, Jason, for taking the time to meet with us. And there's a lot of great advice there. Raise your hand if you are not currently employed with state parks, but maybe inspired now by one of the positions that you heard today. Okay. Yeah, looks like we have 7, 8 hands here. So awesome. Right. Thank you, Jason, so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I'm going. And Jason was actually our last presenter today. That was all 6 of them. I want to send a big thank you to each one of them for taking the time to come into the museum and do this and provide some information about their job, but also hopefully inspire those 7 people out there, maybe more than 7, but the 7 that raised their hand who might now be interested in applying for a job with state parks. So keep tuning in to the Ports Home Learning programs for more adventures in your state parks. And we will have more programs coming soon from the Railroad Museum. Thank you, everybody, for watching. See you next time.